Hi, good morning, good afternoon, guys. Can you please confirm if the audio video looks all right here? Sure, Saurabh. Hi, can you confirm if the audio video seems okay? Hi, Divyansh, Samit. Okay, fantastic. Good morning one more time. Some of you are in the morning class as well. Hi, Shrikant, Siddhant. Yes, hello. Niket, Umang. Good morning. Okay. Okay. All right. So, uh, agenda for today's session. We've roughly about 55 days left. I want to give you some sort of a roadmap in terms of some hooks, for you to work on in terms of what could be done, what could be avoided, some of the do's, don'ts, and that kind of a strategy. So it's going to be a general discussion. First 20 minutes, मैं बोलूँगा. First 20 minutes I will speak. Then next 10-15 minutes you ask me questions. Let's try to wrap up in about 30 odd minutes. That's the ballpark game. Everything all right except fear of exams. Yeah, me too. Can I start CFA after completion? I'll answer all the questions maybe in the last 10-15 minutes, but right now just kind of let's just focus on the strategy for last 50 days. So let's start doing some basic work. My screen should be visible to you now. Just give me a minute. Okay. So today, 25th, 21st September. What's the first exam date? Is it 15th? What's the first exam date is falling on what date? I think it's falling on 15th, right? So let's do a let's do a 25th November. So we'll kind of plan for 5th. We'll plan for 15th November. I mean, if you might have a few days extra, that's all right, right? So the number of days left is roughly about 55 days left. Okay, we still have time. And by the way, if there's anyone who's thinking, "Mera padhai nahi hua hai," I'm worried. I haven't done. My colleagues have done this much. It's fine. 55 days is a lot of time for exam like this. So I'm going to give you some sort of a roadmap. We'll set up a hard deadline for you to finish the subject. Okay, so that should be approximately 30 days before the exam. So you're looking at something like 16th of October. So my strategy, I'm going to break it down in two parts. Just give me a minute. So first part will be from today till 16th of October. So this gives you ballpark 25 days. So that should be the first kind of leg of your preparation, a different strategy for it. And then the second part of the game should be from, let's say, 17th of October till your exams. Right? So for some of you, it might be 30 days, 35 days, 40 days, but let's say a ballpark conservative 30 days. So we kind of break down the whole spectrum into two pieces, 25 days and 30 days. Now, if I were you and if I had to write the exams, the way I would approach this is first 25 days, my focus should be on finishing the syllabus, right? So you want to kind of review the whole curriculum carefully. Now, what do I mean by reviewing the whole curriculum? So, number one, you should have gone through all the readings at least once, maybe twice. Now, all of us have different patterns of studying. There are some of us who basically do a reading and then do it to a completion. When I used to study, I used to, do a reading, but not obsess too much about completion, and then do a second iteration and third iteration. So it depends on, what's your style. But on an average, you should be able to do all the readings once. So what do I mean by doing all the readings? If you've been doing videos, you should have completed all the videos once. If you've been reading certain notes, if you've been reading CFA curriculum, whatever, however you've been preparing, do all the videos. This is also the window where I'll recommend you. Ideally, you should have completed all the curriculum end of the chapter questions, or practice problems as they call it in the curriculum now. So you must have noticed in the CFA curriculum, after every reading, they have those 25, 30 practice questions. Okay, in my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my guess is that your average level of exams is at par with what you see in the CFA curriculum EOCs. Okay, so you should have done all the videos. You should have done all the EOCs at least once. This is also the time, ideally, for a best case scenario, an optional element, but you should have done all the curriculum practice examples. I generally call them as blue boxes because they used to be in those blue boxes earlier. But you do all the examples which are within the readings. You do all the end of the chapter questions. You do all the videos. That's the minimum that's expected. Now, when you're doing this videos, EOCs, and blue boxes, especially EOCs and blue boxes, I'll recommend you to make use of the flags. Okay, or use some sort of a star system, star marking system, so that in the next round, when you go to final 30 days, you don't have to revise all the EOCs. Because how many times are you going to do the same questions, right? So you need to figure out kahan pe nahi aa raha hai, right? Which are the areas where I'm not comfortable with, and then you do EOCs and blue boxes again. So for example, let's say when I was practicing, I couldn't solve curriculum example on, let's say, price elasticity of demand, for example, right? So I'll put a flag there. So next time when I want to revise, I don't want to revise all the examples or blue boxes. I just revise that particular example. This is roughly should be your target till 16th of October. What do you think? Is this doable? About 25 days. You want to review all the curriculum. You want to review all the readings. Every reading. Do not leave out. The typical. I'll tell you, the typical candidates are technical analysis. Okay. Majority of the candidates don't feel like doing it. Market efficiency, corporate governance type of reading. There's a tendency to leave out these readings. Don't do that. Every reading needs to be dealt with carefully. So spend some time. Once you're done with that, and if you can achieve that, you're going to put yourself in a very, very comfortable shoe. Then you get into the final 30 days of the preparation. Okay, probably the most critical. The first thing I'm going to recommend here is to kind of try and manage some, days off from your office, like full days off. How many days, is a question I get very often. And see, I'm a teacher. My first priority is getting you through the exams, right? So I'm going to go a little aggressive with days off. If you could do 21 days, that would be great. But you tell me, how many days are you planning? Assuming you're working full time, how many days do you think you can pull off? If you could do 3 weeks, right, that would be really nice. That would make you extremely comfortable. If not, do 15 days. Okay, but make sure that you give yourself at least 15 days because the last 30 days is probably a game changer, right? So, आखिरी 15 दिन में काफी जोर लगाना है. तो 15 दिन, so see if you can give yourself at least 15 days off. Now, what do you do in this 15 days? Here's how I'll split it. On day 1 of my final 30 days, I will write my first mock, okay, with no revision whatsoever. On day one itself, I will write first mock without any revision whatsoever. If you sign up for FinTree product, I'll recommend you to do the eye opener mock that we have. So yeah, this eye opener mock ये आपको थोड़ा हिला के रख देगा. You'd find your confidence will be shattered and you feel like I won't be able to do it, and those type of feelings will come in, which is okay. At the beginning of this preparation cycle, if you feel scared, that's okay. We can leverage that sentiment. Once you've done this, then you spend rest of the day work on your mistakes. So let's say you spend about 5 hours writing the mock. Rest of the day you spend work on your mistakes. Then consecutive next 5 days after that, you do the crash course for CFA Level 1. Okay, now I did a crash course for Level 1 for 2021 content. It's sitting on YouTube. Okay, so even if you haven't signed up for any of the FinTree product, you still have access to that crash course. Majority of the curriculum is still relevant. So go to FinTree website, download a sheet that explains differences between 2021 and 2022 syllabus. Majority of the areas are common, so you would be able to access it. If you have access to FinTree LMS, then you would also find the 2022 crash course there. Okay, so whichever you have access to, so that's all right. So 5 days you do the crash course. Day 1 mock, 5-day crash course. After the crash course, immediately on the 7th day, right? So 1 + 5, give yourself maybe a break or a buffer. On the 7th day, you write the second mock. Okay, and then I want you to see the difference. I'm sure your scores will improve, because a lot of times on the exam, we end up missing questions because yaad hi nahi aa raha hai. I'm not able to recall. I'd done that long time back, but I had completely forgotten. And all those issues gets resolved after the crash course. So on the 7th day, you do the second mock, then give yourself a day free in between. Then on the 9th day, you do the third mock. And in this fashion, I'll recommend you to do at least 6 mocks. So FinTree LMS, you would find access to 6 level 1 mocks, plus CFA will give you 2 mocks, right? So 6 + 2, 8 mocks at minimum is what you write in the final days. Every time you write a mock, you identify what mistake you've done. Okay, once you've identified the mistake, then you dig through that area. So the reason why you want to write the mocks is because you want to identify कि मेरे को क्या नहीं आता है, right? What is it I'm not comfortable with, right? Identify those areas, go to videos, go to curriculum, dig through that area, make sure you know it well, and then go on to the next mock, and then keep on repeating this drill. So that's your minimum framework. This is what you need to do. You need to finish the syllabus by 16th, and then you want to write at least 7 to 8 mocks, and you want to do the entire crash course. If you do this, I think you're going to be very comfortable. Now, if you're a full-time student and you have some extra time left with yourself, it's not a bad idea to go through all the candidate resources questions. I think they have about 3,500 candidate resources are on the CFA portal. They've close to 3,500 questions. Is that correct? Somewhere in the ballpark range of 3,500 questions. I don't know the number exactly. You can consider practicing them as well. But when you're practicing them, please make sure you practice them horizontally, not vertically. Vertically means I would take corporate finance or let's say equity investments, and I will solve all the equity investment questions in one go. Bad idea, because your exams are not going to give you all the equity investment questions in one go. Instead, what I would do is I will do it in a rotational cycle. So let's say in a day you feel like you can pull off 500 questions, okay, which is a good run rate, by the way. If you're a level 1 candidate, 500 questions in a day, like a full day of study, is doable. So what I would do is I will do 50 questions of ethics, then 50 questions of quant, 50 questions of fixed income, derivative. I'll do it in a cycle. Next day I'll repeat the whole cycle again. Right? So I'll keep on doing it this way. And that way, you're kind of emulating that exam like environment for yourself. So that's a very smart way of approaching the candidate resources questions. Again, same strategy. You solve a question, you make a mistake, you figure out, oh, ye meko nahi aata hai, I don't know this part well. Go to the curriculum, read that paragraph, make notes. Okay, and then you're done. Along with this, along with writing 7-8 mocks, crash course, in the final 30 days, I also want you to do 2 things. Number 1, revise juice notes every day for an hour, if you can, if you have the time. Every day for 1 hour, preferably early in the morning when you start your studies. 1 hour every day in the morning, sit with juice notes. These are summary notes. Most of you already know what juice notes are. Revise them every day in the morning. Initially, maybe you would be able to cover less, right? Initially, maybe in 1 hour, you would be able to do only 2 or 3 readings. But you do it every day, slowly, you'd realize that in 1 hour's time, you can probably revise one entire subject, maybe at times 2 subjects. When you revise this multiple number of times, you end up building pictorial memory. So that helps a lot. Throughout your mock process and crash course, when you learn something new, I would recommend you to put that on top of your post-its. Okay, like buy those post-its, uske upar chipka do sabke sab. So don't have 10,000 different material to revise from. That's going to make your life miserable in the last 2-3 days. So just have one book, and that juice notes can do the job for you. We're very confident about how we build them. I'm sure if you spend enough time on this, you'd feel confident for the exams. So do the juice notes, use post-its to put additional content, whatever you feel is appropriate. So keep on doing this. And second, keep a printout of the LOS list from the CFA website with you. So CFA Institute has this list of learning outcomes. You can download them and show you. It's pretty simple. Just give me a minute. I might have spoken about this earlier. So if I just do CFA Level 1, 2022 list of learning outcomes, you typically find a PDF on the CFA website, which is really good. Okay, you'd find it somewhere on the, maybe I'll put a link for you on the description. It's there somewhere. I'll put up a link for you in the description. So you can go and have a look at that. What that thing does, right? It has a list of all the learning outcomes with you with command words. The benefit of that thing is that instead of reading the content, it shows learning outcome in the form of a question. Describe this, explain that, calculate this. So you read those learning outcomes and you ask yourself, kya ye mere ko aata hai? Like, do I know what was the content in this inside the juice note, right? So that's more of an active revision. So you can also alternate between revising juice notes and doing the learning outcome list. Or if you have time, you can probably do 1 hour each for both of them. Again, mark the learning outcomes that you are not able to recall easily. So, you're doing something on, let's say, equity investments or derivative, and you could not recall formula of, let's say, risk neutral probability, okay, in binomial model. Mark it. So next time you revise the ones that you generally do not recollect easily. And if you do this, you're going to be more than adequately prepared for level 1. In fact, this is really comprehensive. If you do this sincerely, I think you're getting through with reasonable confidence. Exams are not that difficult. So contrary to popular belief, exams aren't that challenging if you're reasonably well prepared. So keep your cool. You can easily pull this off. 50 days is a lot of time. If you're strategic about how you invest time, you should be able to get through without any difficulty. The level of difficulty, in my opinion, is kind of a split. My guess is 60 to 70% paper is really easy for a well-prepared candidate. If you're someone who's well-prepared and you've practiced enough, uh, papers will be easy. I hear feedback from candidates who come and tell me some of the questions were so easy that we couldn't believe whether the question is really that easy or it's a trap. Okay, trust me, that will happen to you. So questions aren't going to be that difficult. All that you need to do is put in reasonable amount of time and just enjoy the process. Right? At the end of the day, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Like, do I want that stamp on my CV, or do I really want to learn what helps me in the long run? So it's the learning that's important. So just focus on the process. The results will come. Okay, so I'm done talking. If you have any specific questions, I'll be happy to take them. Post them on the chat box. I'll select them one by one, start answering them. Please do similar video for FRM part 1. Okay, Dhaval, sure. Let me put that in my calendar. I'll definitely try to do that. Video on FRM part 1 will be good. Okay. Is it the LOS summary in the study session PDF? Yes. If anyone can post the link of that on the chat box, it will be helpful. Can you suggest what to do if I have forgotten reading which I completed 3-4 months ago? I need to watch LMS videos again. No, Yash, I don't think that's a good idea. I think once you do the crash course, you'd feel that, I'm able to recall it. So as long as you've done it once and, you went through the process that we did in the classroom, you should be all right. Just do the crash course and get on with the questions. Okay. Saransh is asking, I'm targeting 75% accuracy in the question. Is that good enough? So Saransh, I think that's a vanity metric. Okay. The percentage accuracy, to me, it doesn't make sense at preparation level, because you don't want to have a mindset that, I'm going to make guesses if I don't know the answer. You want to have a mindset that when I'm practicing question, I need to figure out what is it that I do not know. Right? That's the right way to approach it. So even if you have a slightest of doubt that, maybe I don't know this concept, you should not be attempting it, which means your scores go down. And that's all right, because your focus is more on identifying what you're not comfortable with. So don't obsess too much about, the level of accuracy. I think that's perfectly, that should be ignored. Anyways, your passing is a function of how well other candidates are doing vis-a-vis you. I mean, of course, CF Institute has a different algorithm. They don't say it's completely relative, but at the end of the day, if you'd see, your passing is going to be a function of how well you're prepared and a little bit of how other guys are also writing. So don't obsess too much about percentage score. Sir, I'm done with all the EOC questions. Should I do them again if accuracy is around 78? Saif, instead, the 22% that you got wrong, do them again. Don't do the ones that you got right. Okay, because there's a higher value for your time invested in reviewing the ones that you're getting wrong. Sir, which course would like to prefer after completion of level 3? Lavina, aren't you a little you're I don't know which course to do after level 3. It depends on what are your career goals and if you really need a course. Again, gathering certification is a funny business. I mean, I'm guilty of that myself, more of a professional occupational hazard. So you don't necessarily have to do anything unless and until it fits in your career goal. It feels 5 days are less to complete all the crash course. Umang, I did that in 5 days live on YouTube. and most of the people managed to finish that with me. So it's doable, but you need sitting of 12 hours, 14 hours a day. So I said 5 full day, not with a job. Push yourself, start early in the morning, sit late till evening, take lesser number of breaks. You should be okay. But, that's the whole thing with CFA, right? I mean, you would say that 6 months are not enough to prepare for level 1, but at the end of the day, we're really pushing ourselves, and it's doable. How to choose right option for ethics? That's a great question. You know what? I want to talk a little bit about ethics. I think ethics is important. So how to prepare for ethics, right? Here's what I would do for ethics. I'll give you a best case scenario preparation, and if you have the time, and then I'll give you a shortcut as well. Best case scenario would be you read curriculum word by word, you highlight whatever you've highlighted, and then you reread one more time, and then you do lots and lots of quizzes. If you do this, that's a best case scenario of preparation. But most of us don't have that much of time. So a more pragmatic, practical solution to it is like this. Number one, you review all the videos. Okay, ethics video content on FinTree LMS is about 7 to 8 hours ballpark. I don't know exactly, but you do all the videos. Then you spend some time on juice notes. In juice notes, we have dedicated pages on required versus recommended. Okay, spend some extra time there. Make sure you're comfortable with what was required, what was recommended, and then you just jump on to questions. And then you do as many questions as you can, and it's okay to get them wrong. The thing with ethics is it's a very gradual learning curve, but after a while you start automatically getting a sense of what's okay and what's not. But you learn well from questions. Especially, I'll recommend doing 2 parts. There are examples in the CFA curriculum which are fantastic. These are not your traditional blue boxes. They have those small, cases or caselets of sorts. So you do those examples, and they have roughly 60 odd EOC questions. I think this is a good preparation. And then you would be writing mocks, so you would get okay over the time. I would also recommend using a lot of Google when you're studying ethics. For example, you come across a term called soft dollars. You don't know what soft dollars are. So just go on internet, figure out what soft dollars are, write it down on top of your juice notes, and then do it, because all of us have different level of vocabs, right? Especially financial vocabulary. So something which is very obvious to you might not make sense to me. For example, full service brokerage versus execution only brokerage. Maybe it's very obvious to you, but I don't know what that means. So I can just go and Google, write down, what I learned from it, write it down on top of juice notes, and just keep on repeating the drill. I think you do this, you're all right. Okay, what else? Okay, sorry, I've lost some of the track of the question. I'm trying to answer them. Is it necessary to score 70% in each subject to pass? No, no, that's not true. There is no subject-wise passing. There is no such thing as there is no such thing as that you have to score 70%. In fact, if you score low in one, but if you score exceptionally good in other subject, you're all right. But don't approach it the ingenious way. Don't leave out subjects an option. You can't afford to do that. Do all the subjects, but it's okay to have a little volatility, inter subjects. I've read every reading from level 1 curriculum once. Now in the first 25 days, should I go through all the videos once or just focus on EOCs and blue boxes? Okay, Adi, I'm assuming you've done reading and you've done videos both, right? That's my assumption. If that's the case, I think I would spend more time on end of the chapter questions and blue boxes. How many quality hours to study you expect? That's a difficult one to answer. That depends on your level of preparation. But on an average, see, CFA Institute says put in 300 hours. I don't know if that's really doable, unless and until you're a finance guy or you're really smart, which I am not. So I would probably, estimate a 500 to 600 hours of preparation for the whole spectrum, for the entire level 1. But again, it really varies from your background and your current level of preparation. Is there any order of subjects which we should follow while preparing? Divya, I'll be doing a video on how to prepare for CFA Level 1 very soon, separately, for candidates who just entering the cycle. So I'll probably talk with that subject then. How to do ethics? If I haven't done it yet, you follow the practical approach that I just recommended. That's the fastest way to do it. Do the videos. Do the juice notes carefully once. Focus on required versus recommended. Then do questions and examples from CFA curriculum, and then just practice questions. Keep on practicing questions. That's your game plan. Okay. What else? Afraid of cons. Any suggestion for that? Okay. Again, depends on what you've done so far. Within cons, there are certain sections which are very simple. There are some sections which candidates find difficult. Okay, I'll tell you which ones. People generally find hypothesis testing tough, and people would generally find certain part of probability tough. Okay, so you can be a little smart about approaching things. For example, let's say you take the whole quant syllabus. You would say that even within hypothesis testing, concepts like p-value, type 1, type 2 error, power of test, those are easy, right? Those are just factoids. I just need to know them. Maybe I'm struggling with running a full-fledged hypothesis test, but what is the probability I have to do the whole test on the exam? Unlikely, right? Or maybe a low probability question. So go through the video sessions once, take down notes on the basics, like make sure you're comfortable with, and I think if you go through the video, you should be very comfortable with probabilities. If you're struggling with joint probability, and or matrices, if you're finding that complicated, it's okay. But at least do Bayes theorem. We have that simple graphical technique. Do Bernoulli trials. Those are easy. And everything else is factoid in quant. So everything else is basically, do I know it or do I not know it? So I don't think quant is that difficult. It's not mathematics. It's statistics, and it's a lot of facts. So if you spend if you're someone who's not prepared at all, spend 3 days on quant, go through all the videos. I think you'd be pretty okay. Can you throw some light on passing criteria? Do we need to score 70% in each and every subject? No, you don't need to score 70% each and every subject. I've started revising from my notes and juice notes from last week, but I have also been able to doing curriculum questions, taking a lot of time to switch to my subject. That's okay. See, don't get impatient with your studies. It's like, let's say you do one reading and, let's say understanding or let's say income taxes from FRA. They have a lot of end of the chapter questions. So don't get impatient with it. Give it the respect and time it deserves. There is plenty of time. You have 55 days. If you're getting impatient, increase the time you're allocating. So maybe reorganize your calendar for next few days, cut down on all the unnecessary activities, and just focus on, spend some extra time on level 1. And trust me, it's going to be worth it for yourself. The day you get your congratulations email, imagine the kind of feeling it's going to evoke. Right? And I always say this, that's priceless, because you can't buy that with money. And it's not a feeling that it's not a euphoria that rises and then drops again. It's something that remains with you for the rest of your life. So prioritize CFA, give it more time, optimize your study time. Even whatever study time you have, a lot of times people open books and they start thinking something else, right? There's a lot of wastage of time there. So don't do that, right? Be actively aware of what you're doing. So use that active revision technique. Use some of the techniques, but it's 50 days. I think you guys are okay. Uh, give some tips on regression and hypothesis. I think I just explained them, so you should be okay. CFA level 1 is easy. I only studied the night before. You're a champion, John. We wish we had the brains like yours or the bluffing skill like yours. Either ways, it becomes confusing while reading questions of not able to read properly. So that's a comprehension skill, Ujjwal. So which that you do this, right? So you've got to be a little careful when you're reading questions. Practice more, you're okay. ABS Mayuresh, I recently recorded a new video. Catch up with it. You should be okay. I've completed all website question. Do I still need to do EOC? No, they would be redundant, Ayush. So maybe you should see if you can find alternate source of practicing questions. We have close to about 6,000 questions on FinTree LMS. You can practice them. Are 50 days enough for second attempt candidate? I think so. Assuming you have done reasonable work in your first leg, 50 days, I think is pretty good. It's doable. Can we do 1 hour ethics Delhi? Not a bad idea. How to give first mock before 22nd October? Is the LICO lecture will end on 20th of October. So that's fine, right? So even if your economics is getting over on 20th, for some of you have done economics in the previous cycle, you still have 2 days. I don't want you to revise before you write the first mock. Just go just like that. And it's more of dealing with mindset, because even on the final exam, you'd still feel that kuch baki hai. It's something is pending. So it's perfectly all right. If you finish your economics on 20th, you can write the exams on 22nd. Riddhi, do EOCs and view boxes and juice notes. Divyansh is asking, I'm finding difficulty in solving EOC of hypothesis. I've understood the concept, but unable to solve question. So Divyansh, read the solution and see if it makes sense. Even after the solution, if it's not making sense, then your concepts are not there, right? But after solutions, if it's making sense, then you're all right. I joined a little late. Can you clear if you start from scratch? Question from Mayank. Mayank, 50 days is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I've seen people being able to pull off in the past. So maybe yes. How many mocks we must give and when should I give? Rajini, just catch up on the previous part of the video. I explained that part. What are the techniques you would recommend to keep the mind active while studying? Okay. I don't know how to answer that. I think for me, the biggest motivator, I think for a lot of us, the biggest motivator is fear. CFA exams are expensive. So exam ke pehle meri kafi fati rehti thi, I used to be really scared because you fail the exams, you lose all that money. So that for me was big motivator. Also scarcity of time was a motivator because I also had a job that time. So you figure out what works for you. I mean, that's the tip that I have for you. Push yourself a little bit, remind yourself of why you're doing it, some of those things. It's very individual to everyone. While revising, should I watch videos on LMS, crash course on LMS or crash course on YouTube? Viraj, if you have access to LMS, do the LMS because that's updated for 2022. And we've also made some changes to it. So your flow will be a little more organic if you're doing it through the LMS. 2022 is on the LMS. 2021 is on the YouTube. Should I give CFA mock before FinTree mocks? No, Sufyan, no. I'll suggest you keep CFA mocks for the end. You do the FinTree mocks first. You'd find FinTree mocks 2 to 3 notches challenging than the CFA mocks. So you do the difficult part first so that, when you do the CFA mocks, they work more like a confidence builder for you. There are massive formulas for test statistic and hypothesis. Are they testable? Yeah, the paired comparison, or especially the test for comparing differences of mean. I think there are a couple of formulas there. It's okay not to worry about those formulas too much. I think in general, my guess is exam questions are more applied and conceptual. Very unlikely that that formula gets tested, but again, I could be wrong. But in my opinion, the probability is low. Okay. All right. I tried to answer as much as I could. I've already exceeded the time. Phenom, yes, you can. You can do the whole revision with the juice notes and crash course. That's definitely doable. I hope you find this useful. By the way, I would also be doing AMA session on Instagram 20 days before your exam on 27th of October. So 27th of October, 7 o'clock in the evening India time, I would also be doing AMA session on Instagram on FinTree channel. So I'll put the link in the description. I'll also put the link of that list of learning outcome document on the description. So you can download them and use them for your revision. Okay. So wish you guys all the best. Again, don't panic. It's just an exam, so approach it that way. Don't fall into the trap. Don't worry too much about results. In the long run, the results do not matter, right? The fact that you're attending this session here means you're serious about these exams. So just follow good process, make a tight plan, execute the plan, stay committed, and take one day at a time. If you think what will happen if I pass, then if I don't pass, what will she say, he say, mom say, dad say, colleagues say, bosses say, no one really gives a about you. Okay, so don't obsess too much about the results. Just build a really solid plan and approach it one day at a time. And every day before you go to bed, ask yourself, did I put my 100% in? That's the only thing that matters. Right? Nothing else matters. That did I put in everything that I had in me, for preparation? And as long as you do that, I think you're okay. You're phenomenal. Even if things go south, you'd still end up being really, really good in your career or whatever thing you're trying to pursue. So focus on the process. Don't obsess too much about results. And with this, I'm taking your leave. Thank you very much. I'll see you on 17th October on Instagram now with. 27th October, Instagram, 7 p.m.